please. Hello, everybody. It's Dave with Smoky Mountain Gaming Studios. Today, gonna have a couple drinks and talk to you about the new Grand Tournament, Arks of Omen. Woo! Exciting. And if we have enough time, may also talk about doing some boarding actions and stuff in the new Abaddon book. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. I read all the rules today and everything, and it's awesome. Awesome. Really awesome. I'm looking forward to the boarding actions, honestly, more than anything else. Uh, yes, sir. Long pour. All right. Where to start? I guess let's start where everybody wants to start, the new Grand Tournament mission pack. So that's what everybody wants to talk about. It's what everybody wants to know about. See, in the first little bit, you gotta select your battle size and all that good fun stuff, just like normal with Nephilim. Um, but let's see, just like with Nephilim, you also get 6 command points, and you can use those for pre-game stratagems, or save it for during the game. It's whatever. See, then also each player must include 1 Arks of Omen detachment in their army. Now, this is the detachment for the mission pack. I'll have a picture of with the detachment itself. When you include this detachment, you must select one and only one of the stacks of compulsory battlefield roles, and then select the requisite number of units within the designated battlefield roles to fulfill that detachment's compulsory requirements. For example, if you pick troops, you gotta do 3 troops. If you pick elites, 3 elites. Super heavies, blah, 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 blah. You can make just about anything and everything with the new Arks of Omen detachment. I'm super excited about this. And I know this has brought other people back into the game that were looking to kind of get out of it. Also, after you've added your Arks of Omen detachment to your army, you can choose to add 1 allied detachment to your army. This can only be a patrol detachment or a super heavy auxiliary detachment. So no more Supreme Command detachments or any of those other detachments. Oh, hello, Dr. Mustache. The cat's going to be joining us for the stream here today. This allied detachment costs 0 CP, so it doesn't cost anything additional to use it. Let's see. You can't do any understrength units. That's just like with Nephilim or anything else like that. The only time you can do understrength units is like an open play, pretty much a gentleman's game, if you will. Let's see. You can see, with the exception of the units of troops or dedicated Yep, just like normal. You can get as many troops as you want, the same data sheet, but you can only do up to 3 of the same data sheet in a strike force battle game, or 2 for an incursion. And also, I just wanted to include that on there, was each player must provide a copy of their army roster before the battle begins for the opponent to read. And that's not really something anybody ever does, to be honest, but I guess it's nice for them to have it in there. I mean, everybody has a digital copy, and everybody that I've ever went against has been more than happy to hand me their phone. It's like, hey, look, we'll see what this unit can do. Also, in this, just like with the Nephilim, you got to pay a CP for your Warlord trait and your Relic. I'm kind of okay with that. There's also this nice heroic support stratagem. I really like that one. It kind of gives you a little bit more options, like run more things that you want to run. Like with Tal Sept only being restricted to the Arks of Omen detachment, you can only run one commander. If you spend a CP, you can run two commanders, which is pretty good because generally for Tal they ran two commanders and two patrols, or whatever they had to do to fill out whatever they needed to. I believe this also applies to like all the Tyrannid stuffs. One thing it doesn't apply to is Gene Sect, which I think is Gene Stiller Cult. I'm not 100% sure about them. I've honestly not really looked into them too much. I do plan on eventually looking into some Gene Stiller Cult though. And here it is, the detachment itself. The reds are compulsory, so you have to take one of these red. You have either troops, elite, fast attack, heavy support, or Lord of War. Lord of War, super heavy, blah blah blah. If you have a Knight's Army or something like that, you don't have to fill out the HQ slot, which is pretty big because, well, won't really be able to easily with a Knight Army. Let's see. So with this, you like I said, you have to fill out one slot of your choosing. Then it opens up the rest of these. You can have up to 9 troops, 3 more elites, technically 6 more elites, but 3 of them can be elite characters. Well, can only be elite characters. Hey Cole, what's up? You can also add another up to 3 more HQs, 2 flyers, which good. It should be like that. 3 more fast attack, 3 more heavy supports, 3 more Lord of Wars, 3 more fortifications. I like that. I did not like having to take a completely different detachment just for a fortification. That was pretty lame. Spending CP for something that's, honestly pretty underpowered. I think the only fortification that was actually decent was the Sisters one, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I know the Nurgle one, the Feculent Gnarlmaw, is pretty cool, and I may consider taking it now because I don't have to spend CP for it. Yep, 3 Space Marine Lieutenants. Yes, sir. Yep, spend that 1 CP to get you an extra lieutenant in there. So you can have a captain, being your warlord, and then 3 lieutenants. What every Space Marine army needs right there. 100%. Battle Brothers. I've had people ask about this. This in your Arks of Omen detachment is an Imperium. You can include one of the following as an allied detachment. One Agents of the Imperium, auxiliary support, or patrol detachment. 1 Imperial Knight super heavy auxiliary detachment containing 1 free blade unit, or 1 Votan patrol detachment. If your Arks Omen detachment is either an Assyriani or Drakari detachment, you can include 1 Harlequin's patrol as an allied detachment. If your Arks Omen detachment is an Astra Militarum detachment, you can include 1 Astra Militarum detachment patrol detachment that only contains units with the Militarum Tempestus keyword. I like that. The Tempestus Ions are really cool. See, then it keeps going on and on and on. If you're Gene Stiller cults, you can include 1 Brood Brothers patrol, auxiliary support, or super heavy auxiliary detachment. Pretty awesome. If your Arks of Omen is Chaos, you can include Chaos Knight, super heavy auxiliary detachment containing a Dread Blade. If you're World Eaters, you can do a patrol of Khorne demons. If you're T-Sons, you can do a patrol of Zeech demons, which kind of helps tone down the flamer thing, the flamer issue. Not only changing them to ballistic skill 3 toned them down a lot, but this right here will also tone them down quite a bit. Only limiting the elite's choices to 2 for the Thousand Suns really put a damper on them being at the top for now. If you're a Death Guard detachment, you can do a patrol of Nurgle demons. See, then if you're Arks, Omen detachments, traitors to Astartes, you can Emperor's Children. You can do a patrol of Slanesh demons. Of course, you know, it makes sense with all the other ones, how they're going and everything. Let's see, what did Cole say? Technically, there's also the guard one. Gives light cover, system was 80 points for an action to gain a miracle dice. Oh yes, people liked using the Wayway Gate, for sure. Wayway Gate was cool. Anyways, where was I? Legion's Demonica detachment. If you're doing Disciples of Be'lakor, Renown, I like this one. And this is making me kind of think about possibly running some Disciples of Be'lakor. You can include a Traitorous Astartes patrol detachment. And you can also do a Chaos Knight super heavy auxiliary detachment. It has to be House Corvax. This also means you can include 2 allied detachments, even though normally you can only include a single allied detachment. So that's going to be very interesting, especially with the Arks of Omen detachment being the demons part of it. All right, that pretty much covers most, not really most, just part of the stuff for the Grand Tournament. The missions, from what I could tell, are the exact same. Nothing's changed in the missions, like not even the positioning of the objective markers. The tertiary stayed the same, which, you know, honestly, they were good. All the missions were good. They didn't really need to be changed for the Grand Tournament. Though I do prefer to have some change, just because, I don't know, that's just the Zeech demon in me, I guess. But here in a little bit, we'll start talking about secondaries and what has changed and things like that. I will actually be referring to a document done by Tabletop Tactics. The chef has spent his time and compiled a very nice document on like the changes of the secondaries and things like that. Most of them stayed the same, but the changes that did happen were pretty substantial, to be honest. Let's see these changes. All right, the first change, of course, was to assassination in Purge the Enemy. You can now gain a CP if your troops, war dog, or armorer unit destroys a character. That's a really nice way to get, you know, some additional CP. Bring it down, didn't see any changes, which is good. It didn't really need to see any changes. It was pretty good where it was at. You know, whenever they combined it with Titan Hunter, that was just perfect. Grind them down. Changed a little bit as well. This is in No Mercy, No Respite. Excuse me. Score's still the same, but if at least one enemy unit was destroyed by troops, war dogs, or armorer units, again, trying to push for those troops, you gain a CP. No prisoners, no changes. Warcraft secondaries. For Pour the Witch, there was no really changes for it. For the Warp Ritual, it goes up to Warp Charge 4, but other than that, it still stays the same, so you still gain 3 victory points, 4 victory points, then 5 victory points for a total of 12. Psychic Interrogation changed to Warp Charge 5, and now it requires line of sight again. Other than that, still the same range, still the same 24-inch range, still the same victory points, CP regeneration if you exceed their leadership, blah, blah, blah. It's just a little bit harder to score now because requires line of sight, which it should have anyways. It not requiring line of sight kind of made it an auto take for anybody that had psychers. I tended to go more towards the warp ritual route, honestly, but that's just me because I like to have that almost guaranteed 2 turns of just being able to unleash all my psychic powers out. Battlefield supremacy, behind enemy lines changed. You still get increased to 3 victory points for 1 unit wholly within the deployment zone. Still 4 victory points for having 2 units wholly within. But now you also get 1 CP if a troops, war dog, or armor unit is at least one of those units. Another good way to rack up some more CP. They also did some changes to engage on all fronts. Now this only applies to if you're in all 4 quarters. If you're in all 4 quarters, then you have to be at least 3 inches away from the other table quarter. Now, if you're only in 3 table quarters, then it's still 6 inches. So you have to kind of watch out for that. Shadow operations, raise the banners, didn't change. Retrieve data, didn't change. Now let's go on to the Imperium. They had some changes here. Persian enemy for the Abdetus Astartes was the same as before, but no maximum for each doctorate now. So you can score quite well on this if your target priority is very good and there's enough units to kill, which shouldn't be hard. I do believe this one you get 2 victory points. Let me double check for killing in the Devastator Doctrine, which this secondary right here is going to really propel some Space Marine chapters. Yes. Yep, 2 victory points for Devastator Doctrine, 1 for Tactical, and 1 for Assault. That's for each enemy unit that's killed during it. So, like Iron Hands, they're really going to shine in this. With this secondary, the Raven Wing part of Dark Angels is also going to shine with this because their Super Doctrine, I believe, is the plus 3-inch movement in Devastator Doctrine, and I think it's something else in it too. But it's very easy for them to just stay in Devastator Doctrine, load up on heavy weapons, use their plasma weapons for just whittling down targets, and then using the heavy weapons themselves to take them out for 2 victory points each. And you only have to kill 8 units. And the only time you're only going to be going against 8 units is if you're going against knights. And then you're taking Bring It Down, not Codex Warfare. Battlefield Supremacy, it stayed the same. Oath Moments went back to how it was before. So you get 2 victory points for being in the middle again, which is pretty great. Black Templars. They removed Bathe Your Blade in the blood of the foe. Such a nice name. They also removed Allow Not the Worship of Unclean Idols. Gosh, I should be playing Black Templars. These guys are awesome. They did keep though, Carry Out Your Vows in No Mercy, No Respite. Score the same way, but the in-game component nets you 5 victory points, up from 3 victory points. Okay, that's interesting. Takes a look to see what their secondary is exactly. Should probably just keep this open. All right. Oh, wow. That's a lot of stuff. You know what? If you're a Black Templars player, you know what's up with your Carry Out Your Vows. That's a lot going on there. Blood Angels, they removed Blade of Sanguinius. No, that was such an auto take. I loved that one. So very thematic, but it had to go, I guess. They also took out Fury of the Lost. Kind of okay with that. You only took it if you took a bunch of Death Company. They took out Death from Above. which is, I'm okay with that as well, because being a Blood Angels player, I never expect to make an 8-inch charge. Don't ever expect it. And coming out of deep strike 9 inches away from an enemy with the +1 to charge, 90% of the time, I'd roll like a 7 or 6. That's not good enough. They did, however, keep Relentless Assault, and it didn't change. That's pretty much better than Behind Enemy Lines. So it's Blood Angels version, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good one. Dark Angels, they lost their Martial Interdiction. They also lost Death on the Wind. They kept Stubborn Defiance. I believe that one is they choose an objective and they just kind of sit on it. Deathwatch, they lost the Long Vigil, they lost Cripple Stronghold, and they also lost Suffer Not the Alien. They did, however, get a change to Cold Order, as before, but back to scoring 5 victory points for each battlefield roll completely destroyed. So you can max it once again. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, so I guess if you destroy all elites or all fast attack or all heavy support, you get 5 victory points for killing that. Okay, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Deathwatch seems like a pretty interesting army. Imperial Fist, no changes to bolster barricades. Iron Hands, no mercy, no respite. Cold Fury, it's the same, though both instances of Holy Within have changed to Within, making it a little bit easier to score victory points for having a vehicle in the center and an enemy deployment zone. Okay, nice. Raven Guard, no changes to secure, or sabotage. Salamanders, basically the same, though you capped at 2 victory points for infantry not being destroyed near the chosen objective, which is pretty good, because I remember like shooting into some aggressors or something on an objective, and it's just they're racking up victory points because it takes me 3 or 4 units to kill them. And that's so this makes it a little bit better. This is a Promethean Creed. Excuse me. For the Space Wolves, they removed a Mighty Saga, removed Glory Kills, and they removed Heroic Challenge, but they kept Warrior Pride. I believe Warrior Pride, let me double check, is the charging one. Yes, 2 or more Space Wolf units from your army are within engagement range. Yep, so they have to make 2 charges a turn, pretty much. Honestly, kind of hard to do, especially first turn, but it's a somewhat easy 12. Now, definitely easy 9, because you should be able to make 2 charges. Plan around making 2 charges a turn for turns 2, 3, and 4. And you need to try to set up for 5 as well, turn 5 as well, but that'll be a little bit more difficult because if you're making your charges and you're playing the game right, turn 5, there's not as many targets. The Ultramarines, we march from a crag. Can now be done on objectives anywhere on the board, given you have a good head start if you have hidden ones in your deployment zone, as well as being just a bit more accessible in general. I'm going to take a look at this one. Ultramarines. Okay, they got to do the clean from a crag action. 1 or more Ultramarines core infantry units from your army can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase. Each unit from your army that starts to perform this action must be within range of a different objective marker you control that has not been claimed from crag by your army. Okay, and the action completes at the start of your next command phase. Ooh, 4 victory points each. Okay, cool. That's nice. That's nice. Demons have one that's similar, but not as good because you can do this one in your own deployment zone. The Demons one has to be no man's land or otherwise. White Scars, goodness, no changes to Lightning Strike. All right, let's see. Before I go on with the rest of the Imperium, I need to check, see how chat's doing. Oh, goodness, you guys are talking up a storm. How's everybody doing? Oh, thank you, thank you. Cyber Iceman, I love the sweater as well. It is, I got it from Merchoid. It's actually quite quality too. Never leaving the tactical doctrine with the salamanders. Right? I understand. I honestly kind of thought about staying in the Devastator doctrine with the salamanders. Um, just because then you can, gosh, you can do so much in the Devastator doctrine. You get the 2 victory points each time. That's awesome. Thank you. Do a corn scream. Blood for the blood god! Drink the blood of the fallen. I'll try. Heck, all blood angel. Yep, all blood angels have a story of failing 8-inch charges. Yep. Oh yeah, Promethean Creed is still an auto take. It's really good secondary for sure. All right, let's see. Back to some more secondaries. The Adepta Sororitas. There's some changes that went on around here. Purge the enemy, slay the heretic. It's been completely removed. Defend the shrine. There's no changes to that. They had a pretty easy time with that one, but that's okay to have an auto take secondary. I mean, come on. They lost AOC, so sisters aren't doing the best right now. And they're taking a hit on the secondaries too. Sacred Grounds, slightly reduced scoring, only netting you 4 victory points for objectives not wholly within your deployment zone. I believe before it was 5 victory points, so you can do it in 3 turns. This time it requires 4 turns, or 4 actions. Yep, because it's shadow operations. There are no mercy, no respite, a leap of faith. They completely changed this around. Now you discard a dice at the end of the battle instead of getting victory points for, I think, using the miracle dice. If you discard a 1 through 3, you get 1 victory point. 4 through 5 is 2. And a 3 victory points for discarding a 6. And you're still only capped at 12 victory points on this. It's a little bit harder to do because they're encouraging you to discard your higher miracle dice, and miracle dice can be kind of swingy at times. Goodness gracious. This is why I gotta drink, because I know it's gonna do a lot of talking. Adeptus Custodes. Auric Mortalis. No changes. Might of Terra. No changes. Stand Vigil. No changes. That's always nice. It's nice to have your secondaries mostly stay the same, or to get somewhat of a buff. But I believe their secondaries were good. Anyways, they were solid. They weren't busted. They weren't underpowered by any means. The Adeptus Mechanicus. Accretion of Knowledge. The vehicle portion now only needs to be 8 wounds or more, making this much easier to score in most matchups. I'm guessing it probably was like 10 wounds or more, which made it so like a lot of dreadnoughts and like small vehicles like little flyers and stuff like that. Or I say little flyers, like little fast attack vehicles or things like that, just kind of got by. It's also scored regardless of how they die, so things like explosions or allies can net the kills for you too. Ooh, nice. No Mercy, No Respite. Eradication of Flesh. Now scores 4 victory points when achieved each round, up from 3. That's nice. Admech is kind of in a bad place, so it's nice for them to get a little bit of a boost. Sorry to check on the cat. It's making some noise. Uncharted Sequencing. It's been removed. Hidden Archeo Vault. Now worth 5 victory points, up from 4. Scores at the end of your turn rather than the battle round. It's an incredibly strong choice on missions where you can easily reach and control all the objectives of the midboard equally and merging on an auto take. Yeah, that's pretty strong. Admech has some pretty strong secondaries now. If the army wasn't so hard to play, I'd say I'd see them on the table a lot more. But then there's the Astra Militarum, which we're going to see a lot of. I guarantee it. Purge the Enemy by las gun and bayonet. No changes. Shadow Operations Special Orders has been removed. I don't know what that one was, but it's gone now. Battlefield Supremacy, Boots on the Ground. You can now be 3 inches away from the center with your platoon infantry units, making this a bit easier to score. Okay. No Mercy, No Respite, Inflexible Command. Now just requires your squadrons to be 12 inches of officers, and you score 2 victory points if you kill an enemy unit with a unit under the effect of an order, making this overall easier to score and higher scoring to boot. Also, the Voxcaster bit is reworded to account for how command squads have changed in the new codex, as you'd expect. Okay. So they did some rewording and stuff on that one. I'm not too familiar with the guard ones, considering I don't have a guard army. It's like one of the few I don't have. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. Imperial Knights, yield no ground, no changes. Honor of the House, no changes. Renew the Oaths, no changes. Duel of Honor has been removed. Grey Knights. Grey Knights, I feel also a couple of big winners in this. A lot of their weapons and stuff were like AP1 and whatnot, so losing Armor of Contempt really helped them a lot. And let's see, I think they got a couple of changes to the secondaries. Destroy the Demons scores the same, but you no longer lose victory points for leaving demons above half strength. That's probably good. Losing victory points is always bad. Teleport Assault, back to scoring 5 victory points. That's right. This was a good one. I think this one if you teleport and you kill a unit, you get 5 victory points. Pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Purifying Ritual, now Warp Charge 6, while scoring the same and in the same manner. Okay, so I guess the Warp Charge went up a little bit on it, but it was still an auto take. You know, every time, there's just score it constantly and easily too. Let's see. Let's check on chat again before chaos. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. My +1 to wound on melted and flamers. It's in tactical though. Right. Yeah. Yeah, but they're heavy weapons, aren't they? They have heavy flamers, I do believe. Is that right? Stank. Oh, and what's in the cup is some Wiseacres. Gotta get up to get down. It's a coffee milk stout. It's really delish. You can see you can't really see the color. When I fill it up again, you'll see. Oh, there's salt. Oh, goodness. The thing is, with the Codex Warfare giving you 2 victory points for being in Devastator Doctrine and 1 victory point for Tactical or Assault Doctrine, I've honestly been contemplating doing Blood Angels list with a lot of heavy weapons and staying in Devastator Doctrine the whole game, then using my Sanguinary Priest to send a unit out in Assault Doctrine just to get their little bit of buffs. I mean, sure, they won't get their Savage Echoes extra attack, but if I use Death Company, then they get that extra attack anyways. Right. Yeah, then if you're doing Promethean Creed instead, then Definitely. Let's double check. Let's see here. Codex Warfare is in Purge the Enemy. And Promethean Creed is in No Mercy, No Respite. Right? That's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be wrong. I mean, they have books and books and books and books and books of rules. I mean, come on. I'm trying to talk about 2 books just today. But yeah, there's a lot. So don't trust me, everybody gets stuff wrong all the time. Check him out. That guy right there, that's Vashtor. He's huge. And that's that right there. Nope. That guy right there. Yeah, I think that's a Primaris Space Marine. Maybe just a regular old dude. So it could just be a regular bolt. No, that's Primaris because that's an assault bolt rifle. Yeah, still wouldn't be bad against a horde army. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't try to maximize your Codex Warfare by staying in Devastator Doctrine like for the first couple turns, and then Tactical Doctrine for the last 3 turns. Yeah, and there's all kinds of different things you can do with it. Just the ability to stay in the doctrines themselves now is pretty huge in my opinion. I really love that change to Space Marines. All right. Chaos. There's a lot going on for Chaos, and then we got some Xenos that we have to go through. Leo Traitorous Astartes. Rise to Glory. Now scores 3 victory points each time a character, monster, or vehicle is destroyed by one of your characters. Could be at range now, not just in melee. That's good. Still pretty tough to score on, though. Yeah. You can no longer score it on for smites. But I guess you couldn't anyways if it was just melee. Shadow Operations for the Dark Gods. Excuse me 1 second. Excuse me. Whew. I'm drinking a little quick. Alright, for the Dark Gods, essentially the same, but you just need to be within 6 inches of the center of the table quarter, making it a little bit easier to perform, albeit still a tough one, but overall given the time scale of the action. Okay, that's nice. Before it was a lot like how Engage on All Fronts was, where you had to be like out of 6 inches of each table quarter to get and then do an action, but now you just need to be within, so that's not too bad. Long War, it's the same, but maxes at 4 victory points a turn, making it a little bit more forgiving. It used to be max of 3 victory points a turn, and it was a little bit harder to do, especially if you had like first turn or something like that, because it was about taking the objective from your opponent, pretty much. And at the end, like if you're winning, then you're not scoring anymore because you already took all the objectives. Alpha Legion. Oh, they just snuck in here. Infiltrate and Subvert. Now completes at the end of your turn. Ooh. Though the subversion bit only happens on a 4+ now. It's fine, but a little bit easier to actually score, though you still need to deep into the enemy lines to do so. They're still mostly taken out of the turn when you do so. Interesting. Black Legion. Despoiled Dominions. It's in Shadow Operations. Now only needs the objective to be controlled by you to perform the action. Troops complete this at the end of the turn, otherwise it's the same. Overall, a bit easier to score on. Creation of bile, specimens for the spider, no changes. I believe this one's a really good one anyways. I think it was like pretty much just kill stuff, which is what you want to do anyways. Yeah, of course it is, because it's in Purge the Enemy. Emperor's Children, no mercy, no respite. Adorn the canvas. Yep. They're secondary. Now just requires you to destroy at least one unit rather than more for ranged, melee, and characters. You still need to hold more objectives as well, but all this will happen at the end of each turn. This makes it extremely high scoring in turns with combat or Overwatch, but where your opponent can't hold more objectives than you, there's no bonus victory points for doing all 4 in the same round, but given how difficult it was and how easy it is to score now, it's not a big loss. Yeah, if it's happening each turn, then that's pretty big, because a lot of things can happen each player's turn. Like if you've seen the game with me and Adam, we were playing Tempests, like he ended up scoring like I think about 5 or 10 victory points during my turn. So, you know, things happen like that. Iron Warriors, Shadow Operations, Master of Demolition, Demolition Men. Now you can just need to control the objective to start the action, and you get an additional 4 victory points for demolishing one within 6 inches of your opponent's deployment zone, making it a bit easier to score, as well as slightly more rewarding if your opponent wants to play safe with one of them. No, that's nice. I can see that being really fun, especially in, gosh, what's that mission called? Okay, say like Recover the Relics or something like that, where you get to move the objective markers. No, Secure Missing Artifacts. I believe this is the one where you get to move them. Yeah, you can move your opponent's either A or B objective that's not in their deployment zone into their deployment zone. You can also do this against Necrons. And it makes it so that the no man's land objectives are just like the center one, and then the other one that's close to your deployment zone. Makes it a little bit harder for them to score that too. So that's a little trick with Secure Missing Artifacts. And that'll be fun with Iron Warriors. Night Lords. Seep the seed, reap the fear. No changes to them. They're still lame. Red Corsairs now completes at the end of the turn, making it easier to score. The objective still can't have any units within range, however, and it still scores the same amount of victory points, so not auto take given the limitation. Okay, so Shadow Operations. For the most part, Banners is more of an auto take in Shadow Operations than most Shadow Operations. Word Bearers, Barrows, Shadow Operations, Exalt the Dark Gods. Now scores 3 victory points instead of 2 for the first score on the tally, but otherwise still no changes. For the World Eaters, this is going to be a mouthful. Purge the Enemy, Blood for the Blood God. They they took away Skulls for the Skull Throne, which was a fun one. It was like Blade of Sanguinius, where you pick a character you have, and it issues a challenge to you pick one of their characters. They have to accept the challenge, and if your character kills that character, then you get 15 victory points. If that character dies, that's 5. If it dies in melee, that's an additional 5. If it dies in melee to the issuer of the challenge, that's 15. And it was so cool, so thematic. Most of the time I got 15 on it, because you get to pick the character. You know what characters are going to shove down your throat, or you can make them hide their characters that way too. And then you just have to go hunt them down. It makes it a little bit harder, but if you're making them hide one of their characters, then that can be a little bit more beneficial to you than the 15 victory points anyways. But anyways, Persian enemy, Blood for the Blood God. At the end of each battle round, score 2 victory points for each monster, character, or vehicle destroyed by melee, or 1 victory point for any other units destroyed in melee, to a maximum of 4 victory points, but only if no units fell back in the round. Tricky one to leverage, as you need to do lots of chopping, and sometimes falling back is advantageous, so shutting you completely out of scoring is a tough one to account for at times. Yeah, that does seem a little tricky to do. I'll have to, I guess try that out sometime and just see what's what. Love my world eaters, so no mercy, no respite, the blood gods do. At the end of each turn, score 1 victory point for each objective marker that had any non-vehicle units that started the turn in range of the objective destroyed that turn. Fairly decent scoring as the game progresses, letting you score by murdering units on objectives and also getting some slight compensation should a unit of yours die in range of one in your opponent's turn. Okay. Interesting. I see. Okay, so just you score a victory point for killing a unit off an objective. Or, well, sorry. You score a victory point each time a unit dies off an objective that's not a vehicle. That's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. So if your stuff dies, you get a victory point for that. Not bad. That's very blood for the blood god. Pile the skulls. At the end of each battle round, you can discard up to 3 blood tithe points. Okay. These will be coming out eventually, before purchasing any blessings, netting you 2 victory points for each one. Ooh. To max of 5 victory points per round. Given you don't know what blood tithe points and blessings are yet, you're in the dark for now as to whether this is good or not. Yeah. Chef's absolutely right. I have no idea whether that's good or not, but it seems decent. Seems a little bit like the the sisters where they have to drop their miracle dice, sacrifice them. So I'm really interested to see what the blood tithe is and how it works and everything like that. Let's see what old chat's saying. Oh, still the same stuff. That's fine. Boop. Let's change the background again, because that's fun. Death Guard. It now scores 2 victory points for fleeing vectors. If 7+ enemy models were destroyed by your attacks in a given turn, up from 1 victory point, making this a higher score, a little bit easier to score, highly on. Then there's Despoiled Grounds, basically the same, but you just need to be 3 inches away from the table quarters now rather than 6 inches. That's awesome. Spread the Sickness is also the same. Sorry, everybody. I'm pulling out my phone because I am supposed to be on there too. Oh, look, Mike's in too. What the fuck am I drinking? I'm drinking Gotta Get Up to Get Down by Wiseacres. It's pretty good. It's a beer company in Memphis, Tennessee. I like supporting a lot of local breweries and things like that. Sorry, I'm not texting, just listening. Right. It's all good. Anyways, Death Guard. Yep, Fleeing Vectors got better. Despoiled Ground got better. Spread the Sickness got better. Despite that, them losing AOC hurt them. And I think the point changes were Gosh, I know there was little to no point changes on them, and I think that there was like maybe one or two things that went up in points. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really play Death Guard, but they're not in a good spot, which is pretty sad because they're a really awesome looking army. Thousand Suns, Purge the Enemy, Sorceress Prowess, no changes. Wrath of Magnus has been removed altogether. Goodbye, Wrath of Magnus. That's going to change the meta a lot in and of itself. A lot more people are going to be taking Psychers now because they're not afraid of just giving up a free 15 victory points to T-Sun players. Mutate Landscape now is Warp Charge 5. Other than that, no changes. Burn Empires, no changes. Chaos Knights, Battlefield Supremacy, Ruthless Tyranny. Scores 2 victory points if every objective marker is in dread range. Up from 1 victory point, which is really good. They can get their dread range up pretty big and kind of, score some good points on that. No Mercy, No Respite, Path of Destruction. The second bullet point just needs you to be in neither player's deployment zones, so you can do it's just on the edge now. In addition, you now get an extra victory point, so from 4 per round if you're maxing kills and positioning. Okay, interesting. I have Chaos Knights, though I've honestly not played them yet. I have a lot of painting and stuff still left to do on them. And if you've ever painted a knight before, you know it's all sub-assembly, so you don't really want to put everything together ahead of time. If you do, it makes it a lot harder to paint. So generally, I'm not opposed to putting models on the tabletop, gray plastic, or just primed, whatever. That doesn't bother me at all. It's a little bit harder if it's just a base and it's supposed to be, that tall. Makes it a little bit more difficult to play a game with something like that. Storm of Darkness now scores 4 victory points when completed, and the leadership debuff range increases to 9 inches. A decent enough boost with a cute upgrade to the debuff. You'll still need to clear an objective of all enemy models, take a turn of attacks, and make up any movement or psychic. Still making it a tough sell to perform, but at least a little bit better now. And Purge the Enemy, a fitting challenge has been removed. Chaos Demons, Reality Rebels, stayed the same. Nourished by Terror, stayed the same. And Spoilers of Reality, it scores the same, but now gives you CP on a 6 when completed, or a 5+ if the unit has an icon or instrument. Okay, it's nice, but not a big change. All right, let's check and see what chat's saying. I noticed old Mike got in the chat. Oh baby, it putting lead in your pencil. What? Yeah, Death Guard are kind of doo-doo now, Cole. Morty is still the devil, Mike. No, the Nurgle Demons aren't going to help him, Cole. I'm sorry. And yes, Mike, Choppas are legit against Death Guard now. First time. Yep, first time, orcs are going to be good against Death Guard, and you're just going to get mowed over by Astra Militarum constantly. I'm sorry. You're silly, Mike. You're silly, silly man. Alright, let's go over the Xenos. This one's going to be a mouthful, so I'm probably going to stop halfway through and check on chat again. Siriani. The Hidden Path has been removed. That was their Battlefield Supremacy one. Wrath of Cain, no changes. Scry Futures, no changes. Scout the Enemy, no changes. Alright, well, if it's like this, I may not have to take a break. Drukhari, Purge the Enemy, Take the Alive, no changes. Purge the Enemy for Drukhari again. Beast for the Arena has been removed, so they only get 1 Purge the Enemy now. Okay. I think Drukari's looking in a good spot. They went downhill really quick after AOC. So I think Drukari's going to start seeing some play again now. And the Arks of Omen detachment, they'll be able to take good old Drazar again. Ooh. Master of Blades. No Mercy, no Respite. They have Fear and Terror. No changes there. And the Battlefield Supremacy, Herd the Prey. No changes. Pretty sure the Herd the Prey is kind of like their table quarters one. For the Harlequins, looks like they got a bunch of secondary changes. Take your places. Score's the same, just the objectives can't be set up within 3 inches of another objective marker instead of 1 inch. Doesn't really change a huge amount, just making it slightly trickier to double up on one of these primary objectives. Okay, they're just trying to make it a little bit harder, but adding 2 inches isn't going to be nothing for Harlequins. They are quick as shit. No Mercy, no Respite, Deadly Performance. Now only core units count for being wholly within your opponent's deployment zone, so no more scoring as easily with boats or a lone character. Okay, you'll have to get bikes or your troops to get out there and do it. Alright, that makes it a little bit trickier. Warpcraft Weave Veil now starts at Warp Charge 4. But other than that, it's the same. So I'm guessing it's probably Warp Charge 3. A lot of these little action warp charges are pretty minimal. Tyranids, no Mercy, no Respite. The Synaptic Insight. You now need 5 Synaptic kills on your tally to score the victory points, making this slightly harder to achieve. Otherwise, it's the same. Purge the Enemy, Cranial Feasting. Feeder Tendrils now only gets +1 to the CP regen roll, rather than 2. Everything else remains as it is. Shadow Operations, Spore Nodes, no changes there. Gene Stealer Cults. Brood Swarm for Battlefield Supremacy, no changes there. Purge the Enemy, Ambush. All segments now score 2 victory points, and you're capped at 5 total, making it slightly easier to score consistently. Shadow Operations, Sabotage Critical Location, now scores 10 victory points when completed. Turn 2, 8 victory points on turn 3, 7 on 4, and 6 on 5. Interesting. With the placement and requirements remaining the same, still a tricky one to achieve overall, but slightly more rewarding in the late game. Should your foe leave them unattended. Okay. I'm going to have to look at that one, but then again, it's GSC. I have to look a lot at GSC before I can really say anything about any other stuff. They are super interesting, though. All right, let's take a little bit of break before we jump onto the Necrons. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Mike, and Cole. What you guys talking about now? One time this motherfucker showed up with that flat cardboard. It was Lehman Russ's. I think that guy's in Ukraine now. Cardboard Russes are the best. Yep, cardboard Russes are definitely very Russian. That tracks. And Drukari are in a weird place right now, though I think they'll do pretty good, honestly. The loss of AOC across the board for a lot of armies helped them a lot. Not only that, like the they had the Dark Lances, which were a huge menace for the longest time. I have a feeling those are going to make a comeback. Heavy weapons in general are going to be pretty big this season, in my opinion. Which I'll get into that soon. I got a bunch of questions that people asked, and I'll go over all that stuff. But for now, got 4 more factions to go over their secondaries. Then we can jump onto that. Necrons. Shadow operations. Ancient machineries. Only infantry and bikers that are core can score it now. So no more vehicles doing it. Canoptic units are still able to do it regardless. So scarabs and wraiths are still fantastic for this one. Ugh. They should really make it so swarms can't do actions. I mean, let's be real here. Swarms shouldn't be able to do actions. Nurglings can't do actions. It also no longer has the at the end of the game, whichever comes first bit, so you can no longer do it turn 5 with a non-OBSEC unit. Still scores 4 victory points, completes at the end of the turn with OBSEC units though. So it's still pretty much an auto take. Battlefield Supremacy, Purge the Vermin. Now within rather than wholly within for both quarters and deployment zone, and can't be scored turn 1. Okay, so you can just toe in on a quarter and hurt them, and it can't be scored on turn 1. That's good. Making this much harder to score high on and much easier to deny with your foe being able to toe in on areas, like I'll say. Purge the enemy, Code of Combat has been removed. That's good. It was honestly a pretty lame one anyways. It's like I've had Necron players use it against me and not score like anything. You know? No Mercy, No Respite, Treasure of the Aeons. You now only score 4 victory points for controlling all 3 objective markers, making it slightly harder to max out. Okay. That's good, because I think it was 5 for holding all 3. But still going to be pretty easy to max out. The big changes for the Necrons was them not being able to double up on the OBSEC Dynasty and the pre-move Dynasty traits. With them not being able to double up on those, that's what really kind of hurt Necrons. Orcs. Stop them good. No changes. The biggest and the best. Removed. Green Tide. Now, you only need to be 3 inches away from each table quarter rather than 6, making it a bit easier to achieve though. Still not accounting for vehicles, etc. to count as more than one model. Shadow operations. Get them good bits. Scores 0 victory points each time the action is completed to a maximum of 6. Otherwise, it remains the same. Okay. That's Orcs. Get the good bits is fucking great. It's a great secondary. Every time I go up against Orcs, max 15 on that. Every time. Tau Empire. This one's an easy one. Decisive action, no changes. Clean victory, no changes. Aerospace targeting relays, no changes. Good. Alright, and then Leagues of Votann. These ones are also pretty easy. The Ancestors are watching, no changes. So I'm assuming they're still using the ones just directly from their book, pretty much. Purge the Enemy Grudge Match has been removed. Battlefield Supremacy Lay Claim, no changes. Shadow Operations, Prospects of Wealth, no changes. That's pretty awesome. Oh, thank you, Cole. Thank you. Tried to do my best orc voice I could. It may not have been the best, but I tried. All right, let's see. Let's take some questions. Let's see. Boop. I have a whole little notepad here of questions. Let's start off with first this one. Cole asks, okay, so I have a question for you, your opinion, question on Space Marines. Devastator Marines and Iron Hands getting dropped substantially. Imagine a drop pod and Devastator squad kitted with 1 Melta, 3 Grav Shoots, and Sergeant having Lightning Claw Combi Melta. This only costs 155 points, or 225 with drop pod. Having Melta units only costing 33 points, plus 5 points for the Cherub. For 4 Melta shots on 2s, rerolling 1s, AP5, D6 plus 2, and a squad that also have Grav Shoots, being 12 shots on 3s, rerolling 1s, and then another melta from the sergeant. Is this considered OP, or is this simply a standard for the game? I wouldn't consider it OP, nor standard, to be honest, especially in grand tournaments. Competitive play, you see a lot of screening, especially if they know my opponent has drop pods. Oh, look, they're putting meltas in drop pods. All right, I'm going to put my little dinky troops or my little screens out in front, my trash out in front, and then keep everything else. Gosh, what is it? So you got 24 inches from your drop, from your melta. And I got to keep my troops 9 inches away from you. So I have to make sure everything's pretty much 25 inches away. So all I have to do is make sure my tanks are further back than your 24-inch range can possibly be. It's relatively easy to do, honestly, especially when like player plays terrain, stuff like that, because you can use your screens to push up where you have to drop your drop pod, and then use terrain to hide your targets that the drop pod melta guys want to hit anyways. In my opinion, I think that's really the issue that I have with drop pods is they're just way too easy to screen out. It's still going to be fun. Drop pods are always fun. Narrative games, drop pods it's what Space Marines do. They drop in and they kill stuff. All right, on to the next question. Cole also asks, with Space Marine Assault Terminators having Thunderhammers and Storm Shields, possibly being one of the best units at 33 points with a +1 save, essentially, and a 4+ invul? Yes and no. There's still, see, I went against Reese's Deathwing Terminators, and they had an added durability onto that with only being wounded on 4s. They will still die, AOC or not. The Storm Shield is definitely going to be making a comeback now that AOC's gone. You're going to see a lot more Blade Guard veterans, more Vanguard vets with Storm Shields, Terminators with Storm Shields, Captains with Storm Shields. Everybody's going to have a Storm Shield again. Drop pods for days. Yes. Yeah, everybody's going to have a Storm Shield. And, being only 33 points, great saves, 3 wounds, great weapon, as well as having access to really good strats, like, I don't think it's called Fury of the First, or maybe it is Fury of the First. The strat that gives them +1 to hit. That's big. That's nice. It's a nice Terminator strat to have. It's nice to use into enemies, especially whenever you're swinging Thunderhammers, because then you're hitting on 3s again. But also it's a good idea to have like a chaplain running around with them. That helps them out a lot too. Let's see. Next up, Josh asks, my question, who do I feel would have stronger secondaries? Like the last time it was Necrons and Sisters. This time I feel like Space Marines have some really strong secondaries. Oath Moments back up again, like how it should be. I don't think that they should have changed it. They, I don't know, maybe in the beginning they shouldn't have had Oath of Moment as powerful as it is, quote unquote. But that's like in the beginning of 9th. We're at the end of 9th. Come on. But with Codex Warfare getting the complete makeover that it did, it's going to be a lot better. And with the way the doctrines changed around, Space Marines, in my opinion, got a lot better. Their secondary options are are very solid. Very solid. You know, they can fit into about any role anyways. Their codex is 1,000 pages of units. Yeah, Blade Guard is definitely the biggest loser, Alex, as far as it goes, because they're 35 points. Um, and their weapon is arguably worse slash better. You know, Thunderhammers being AP2 sucks. Mastercrafted Power Swords being AP3, it's pretty nice. But damage 2 kind of sucks. Thunderhammer's damage 3, it's kind of nice. -1 to hit, kind of sucks. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'd almost rather pay the extra 2 points for that 2 inches. I mean, that 1 extra inch of movement, which ends up being 5 inches over the course of a game, and the access to transhuman physiology. You know, that 1 CP strat is huge. And then they can also have a chaplain running around with them. But yeah, bring them heavies. Can't kill us all. I know, Mike, you're excited. You with your horde of orcs. And you're going to see a lot of heavy stuff, in my opinion. I think we're going to see a lot more like heavy armor. All right. Anyways, yep. Back to what Josh was saying. Or what Josh was asking. I think Space Marines have really strong secondaries now. I'll have to look more into like as the meta progresses and stuff. I'll probably change my mind, but right now, like the glaring ones for me is Space Marines, and it's not for all Space Marines either. It's mostly for like Iron Hands and Dark Angels, things like that. But even Ravenwing. Not Ravenwing, Raven Guard. Raven Guard, I think they have their super doctrines and Devastator doctrine, I think, as well. They're gonna be interesting to see on the table again. All right, let's go on to the next one. Cyber Iceman asks more information on how allies work, how they interact with the host army, do they break anything, what they get from their main army, things like that. All right, as far as I can tell, all right, I kind of went over like which allies you can choose and stuff based on which army you are. And as far as I know, you lose like your super doctrine things. So for I guess for World Eaters, they would lose their +1 attack on charge. For like Space Marines, they'll lose their super doctrines. So like for Blood Angels, they'll lose Savage Echoes, which for them happens in the Assault Doctrine. So turns 3 and on for them if you're playing that way. Let's see, what do they get from their main army? So yeah, if they break stuff, and what they get is you get to fill a role that wasn't there before. Okay, so like say I have a Blood Angels army and I want to add some Votan into it. I need a couple of Hecaton land fortresses. Unfortunately, like the kills I get from the heavy weapons on the Hecaton won't help with like Codex Warfare, so I may want to instead of doing Votan, let's do, gosh, I want to say like Salamanders or some other Space Marine chapter with a lot of heavy weapons and stuff. Iron Hands, Blood Angels and Iron Hands. A little bit of Blood Angels to fill out the combat role, and then some Iron Hands for the for all the shooting. Sure, the Iron Hands will lose out on their combat doctrine of not combat doctrine, their super doctrine, but I forget exactly what it is. I know it's extra damage to buildings. Woo. Maybe that's Imperial Fist. Again, I'm not 100% sure. Um, but if you have any other questions or anything like that, feel free to ask, and I'll look into it further to see, like, especially if you have like specific things in mind. Let me know, and I'll do a deep dive on the internet, figure out what I need, figure out the answers to your questions. Because if you want to know, then this is something that I should probably know too. Um, then Josh asks, where do you see the meta heading? Like I was saying earlier, I feel like it's going to end up being vehicle heavy. We're going to see a lot of knights. We're going to see a lot of guard, iron hands. I think Tao's going to still be up at the top a little bit too, just because they're a little bit more able to deal with some of the more heavy hitting stuff. Yeah, I really see the meta shifting more towards bigger shots. There's going to be a lot more elites, a lot more fast attacks. There's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot less troops. That's really what it's going to be. There's going to be a lot less troops, which is why I think that they also did the boarding actions thing. It's like, well, this gives you an excuse to use your troops that you're not using anymore. Imperial Fist is 1 more damage to vehicle and buildings, exploding 6s with bolt weapons. Okay, that's their super doctrine. So I thought they always get the exploding 6s. Iron Hands ignore movement penalty, including things that cannot be avoided, and reroll 1s to hit with heavy weapons and Devastator Doctrine. Okay. Yeah, for Iron Hands, you don't want a soup. Just fuck those other chapters. Just shoot them off the table. Do what Tao does. I'm allergic to combat. Fuck that. Fuck that shit. That's where I think the meta's heading. Next, Mike asks, can you show me how to add the new stuff in Battlescribe? Yes, Mike. Yes, I will. I think I'm going to save that for last. I got a couple other questions, and then I'll be able to do that pretty easily. Adam asks, with new boarding actions, do you think this will be a game mode going forth into the 10th edition with how cool it is? Yes. Yes, I do think that the boarding actions are, I think they're kind of a trial for 10th edition with the way it's going. Still using a lot of like the 8th edition, 9th edition rule set. But it's a little bit more clear as far as like visibility goes, what you have to move around, things like that. You can't kill everything. See, boarding actions is pretty cool because like, say I have a unit of 5-man unit troops, whatever, and 2 of them are sticking their asses out on the out of the corner of a hallway or whatever, and there's another unit off to the side that can see these 2. If they all shoot into those 2 guys and they fail their saves, only those 2 guys are dead. There's no magic bullets. It's not Wanted, with Angelina Jolie. Entertaining movie. I won't say great. It's no Departed. Departed's like up here. It's like you shouldn't be able to see my hand at all. The Departed is so fucking high up. If you ain't seen The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio, I suggest it. But anyways, Wanted. You can't just curve the bullets around the walls anymore, which is really cool. You shouldn't be able to anyways. Melee still goes through the entire unit, which makes sense because if you're using like a sword or whatever, you're moving forward as you're chopping people up. So yes, I do feel like boarding actions are a stepping stone into 10th edition. Next, Adam asks, with World Eaters coming out soon, how do I expect Khorne to compete on the tabletop in Arks of Omen? I'd like to think that they're going to do good, but I have a feeling they're going to struggle. For the most part, Corn Berserkers go into rhinos. You rush them up the board, hope to get into some cover, and hope to not get blown up. With the meta being vehicle heavy, in my opinion, they're not going to last. Transports are just going to go, unless you're a Jakari transport, which I think they have the invul and good weapons on them. So yeah, unfortunately, I think World Eaters are going to struggle a little bit, though I'm still going to try them when they come out. Love me some World Eaters. All right. Then Adam asks, which faction do I feel is the biggest loser? Sorry, Adam. It's one of your boys. Death Guard. Even though their secondaries got better, the loss of AOC really hurt them. And like I said, I think there was also some points changes too. They were some of the first ones to get free war gear, and now everybody fucking has it. Your points didn't go down, so they're definitely the losers here in this, unfortunately. Think less troops with all the free gear? Yes, I still think less troops with all the free gear. All the free gear isn't going to really amount to much, in my opinion. The secondaries, they're definitely trying to incentivize you into taking troops, but I have a feeling you're going to take them and then you're going to be like, why am I taking these guys? They're just sitting back here not doing anything. Like my Space Marines now, I was on the objective before, so it's mine. I'm done. Oh, wait, but then you have to have troops for that. That's kind of lame. All right, Space Marines will probably have a little bit of troops just so they can do the sticky objective thing. Maybe. I see infiltrators coming out and doing a lot more things, like with their free haywire mines and whatnot, but other than that, or Helix Gauntlet. That's the one that you like reduce damage to 0 on the first attack or something like that. That one I'll probably see a lot of. NIDS did have it pretty bad, but NIDS still have awesome data sheets. That's the thing. DACA Cup vehicles on 2s. My hand departed. Yes. Yep. Departed is definitely on the coveted David Cook's top 10 movie list. As well as Gangs of New York. That one's on there too. I don't know if you can tell I like Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a great actor. Ever since Growing Pains. I'm a bit of a fan, if you couldn't tell. But anyways, yeah. Yep, that movie's on there. Watchmen's on there as well. That's another great movie. Everybody should see. Fight Club. The Lord of the Rings movies. That counts as one. Just Lord of the Rings, like The Hobbit included, and all of that. Star Wars as well, of course. Starship Troopers. RoboCop. Terminators. I'm probably going to get past 10. But they're all up there on the coveted Big Trouble in Little China. Big Trouble in Little China. Fucking fantastic. It's a masterpiece. Anyways, that's pretty much all the questions, other than Mike asking me to show off how to use Battlescribe since the updates and stuff. So I got Battlescribe here. All right, Mike. So the first thing that you want to do, I just opened up started a new roster, an Arks of Omen detachment. And I just chose a Chaos Demons because that's what I know. It's what I have. It's really super simple and easy. I'm just going to kind of go around and choose some stuff. So game type. I gotta choose my game type. Arks of Omen, of course. Gotta do Arks of Omen. I know I'm on a computer, you're on a cell phone probably doing yours, but it should still be the same kind of stuff. You'll still hit the plus sign or whatever over here, and then you should be able to pick your game type and do whatever you need to do for that. Let's see, what else is there? It's also the you need to also be sure you choose your Arks of Omen compulsory type. Okay. See, this one's set to troops. I'm gonna set mine to elites. Why not? Actually, troops. Sure, troops. And then we can just add stuff. Like I'm gonna do a Bellacore. Let's do a Bloodthirster. Those are gonna be my HQs. And let's see, gotta do 3 troops. So there's 3 units of Bloodletters. Of course, I'm gonna give them each the icon and stuff like that. Give them all the things that they need. Bloop bloop bloop. But yeah, all that's blah blah blahs. I don't need to pick all that stuff. Show you how you do the warlord trait and stuff. Alright, so I select my bloodthirster here. Select warlord. Bloop. And then just like with the Nephilim, the thing came up where I can spend 1 CP on warlord trait, 1 on a relic, or 1 on giving them an additional relic. This right here is just the relic stratagem called for Khorne demons. So I'm going to choose 1 CP for warlord trait and 1 for the relic. Give him exalted and indomitable onslaught, so he can't be hurt too bad. Armor scorn, so he can't be hurt too bad. Brazen hide. Oh no, let's do devastating blow. That way all of his wounds go through. You don't get no feel, no pain. Screw you. Great axe of Khorne. Yep. All right, so you got that, Mike? I think the big thing is you got to choose the correct stuff up here with the configuration. That's the big thing. You got to choose your Arks of Omen compulsory type. Compulsory. Yep, whatever. You got to choose that. And you got to also be sure you're choosing Arks of Omen for your game type. If that's not working for you, then what I would suggest do is go back to your rosters page and then click on this button up here. So like the 3-line one. Your menu will definitely look different than mine. I don't think you can even see mine, to be honest with you. But yeah, definitely click on this, and then go down to your Warhammer 40K version, 9th edition, blah blah blah. Select the 3 dots over to the right hand side of it. That's for like the options or settings or whatever. And then click refresh data. If everybody didn't know, that's how you manually update Battlescribe. If it hadn't done that for you yet, that's how you do that. That pretty much covers it. Like I said, Mike, if you have any other questions or anything like that about it, feel free to send me a text, whatever, and I'll try to walk you through it as best I can. All right. No, it's only 4:30. I still got some drink in the cup. You guys like to talk about some boarding actions? This stuff is gonna be awesome. Let's talk about some boarding actions. Whether you like it or not, I'm gonna do it. I was thinking about saving this for like Tuesday or something, but I already got all kinds of stuff already set up for it. I can go over with you exactly how to play it and all that good fun stuff. It's super simple. The little bit of rules changes is extremely little. I'm not quite done with this one. It's just a big mug, so I can fill it up again. Cheers, lads. All right. let's talk about some boarding actions. Boarding actions rules, extremely simple. You're playing 40k, but in confined spaces. It's pretty much what it is. I know we don't talk about that, but sorry. Sorry, Alex. Sorry. I will reference the movie from time to time, or the book. The book is also equally as good as the movie. The ending's a little bit different, though. So if you've not read the book, I do suggest it. It's a quick read, too. Boarding action rules. I can hardly see that because my screen's pretty small on here. But it's pretty much like, see, you can use it for crusade battles. You just pretty much have to just talk out with your opponent, like what agendas are kind of okay for this, things like that, because some agendas just won't work for it. Battleforged CP bonus stratagems. You start the game with 1 CP. Everybody gets 1 CP each turn. So each player's turn, you each get 1 CP. All right, quick question. Do you know any buildings with wounds? I have one that comes. You have one that comes to mind? I have a couple that come to mind. I want to say Feculent Narwhal does. And I want to say the Skull Throne does as well. I know the Feculent Narwhal has saves as well, and can actually be attacked. It's like the one building that can be attacked. So I think most buildings have wounds. It's just you're not allowed to attack buildings is the thing. Except for the Feculent Narwhal. But yeah, anyways, like I was saying, only 1 CP to start off with. 1 a turn. The Void Shield Generator. I don't know about that one. Sounds interesting, though. Let me know about that, Cole. Anyways, going on. Measurement and stuff, and line of sight, everything like that has changed slightly. Engagement range through a hatch, like an open doorway, is 2 inches. Still, otherwise, it's just 1 inch. Okay. When you measure like around the walls and even the corners of the walls, like as you can see here from Model A to Model B. Let's see. Also, here we go. This shows you that even though there's a closed hatchway here, you cannot move through the hatchway. The Space Marine can't. You must go around and inside through an open hatchway to get to the other model, the Necron model. All right, this one, visibility. Okay, things that can block visibility are walls, closed hatches, or other models that are not part of the unit. As you can see here, Model A can clearly see Model D. That's if you can draw a line from your model's base to your opponent's model's full base is no, they get no benefit. But if you can draw a line, as you can see from Model A to Model C, that doesn't encompass their full base, then that model gets the benefit of cover. So Model C will get +1 to its save against ranged attacks. Model D, however, will not. Model D is fucked. Model B over here is fine. For now. It's Necron, so probably not fine, actually. All right. And here shows visibility through hatchways. Model A can't see because of the door's closed between it and Model B. And Model B can see Model C as well as vice versa. Change up that background again. Boop. Just because that's fun. That could be of let him on the door. Gilbert Grape. Baseball says no traits of mine. Well, PC may not be the issue there. It may just be the orgs haven't been updated correctly yet. There's always bugs, Mike. You should actually probably just report it to Battlescribe, honestly. Be like, hey guys, there's a bug here. Just bring it to their attention, and hopefully somebody will jump on and get that fixed. All right. Now here's a little bit more visibility stuff. Model A can't see Model D. Okay, let's see. Model B and C can shoot Model A because there's nothing like in between them, but Model D cannot shoot Model A. Let me double check that. Let's see if that's exactly the one I need to talk about that one. Let's see. Models B, C, and D are all from the same unit. When Models D unit is selected to shoot, Model D cannot make any ranged attacks. Yep, because Models B and C are blocking him from doing so. So your own models can stop you from making attacks. Now in the next picture over here, that one, this one, that one. Model A can shoot at models B and C, but not models D and E because B and C are blocking its view from D and E. And vice versa. So D and E cannot shoot at Model A because it's got its own unit right there in the way. You silly dinguses. Necrons. Silly robots. Their problem is they're not silly enough. They're not like, oh, Roger, Roger. Allocating attacks, like I was saying, ranged attacks can only go against things that are visible to the attacker. And if it's not completely visible to the attacker, if you can only draw a line and not a line to the whole base, then they get the benefits of cover, which is +1 to their armor save. It does not stack onto invulnerable saves, of course, thank goodness. Eldrad with a 2-up invulnerable in cover in 8th edition. Anyways, also, weapons that can be fired without the target being visible are not a thing in these. Those are like mortar rounds, things like that, which requires you to not have a ceiling. These are like 10-foot tall hatchways and stuff, So you can't really have like tracer rounds or anything like that. Again, like I said, this isn't Wanted. Entertaining movie, but this ain't it. All right. Movement and open hatchways. Let's see, models can move through open hatchways without hindrance, of course. Objective markers. Big change here is it's no longer within 3 inches. It's within 1 inch. Still the 40mm objective marker. So, it's still the same size. It's just you have to be within 1 inch of it. Witchfire's psychic powers require line of sight and to the nearest. Now, they've changed up a couple of the Zeech spells to make them a lot harder to get off. Like Bolt of Change, instead of being a 7 to get off, it's a 9 now. And Infernal Gateway is now a 10 instead of an 8. Because those can be extremely brutal spells. I see psychic stuff being really, really devastating in boarding actions. Charging, you can only charge a unit if it's visible to you. Most stuff is about visibility, things like that. Heroic interventions, again, has to be visible to you and closest enemy model. Piling and consolidation moves. Now you can't go through the walls or anything like that. You still do your piling and consolidations just like normal. You have to measure around the walls just like I was showing earlier. Actions. There's only 4 actions. I like this. There's only 4 actions. There's only 3 stratagems. I think like 6 warlord traits. It's weird. Weird, but nice. Very nice. Anyways, the actions are secure site. Pretty much an objective secured unit from your army can do this action, and it makes it so the objective is a sticky objective. It's your objective until your opponent comes and takes it from you. They also have the operate hatchway action, which kind of explains what it is. You open up a doorway, and that's it. You're done. I'll have to double check to see exactly when it's finished. You start to perform it at the end of your movement action, as long as you're within an inch of the hatchway. And stuff. Yeah. You can set Overwatch. Okay, Overwatch now is not just something you pay a CP for. It is something that you have to do an action for. So you set up your unit to fire Overwatch, and they fire Overwatch whenever something moves within visible range of them. And they don't have to fire at the first thing that moves within visible range of them. So it says can fire Overwatch. Now it still works like regular Overwatch and 40k, where it's only on 6s to hit, unless you get a special order to hold steady. Now, I don't know if there's some missions that have that special order, but I know there's a warlord trait that you can give units hold steady when they're set for Overwatch, which is to hit on 5s instead of 6s. So 5s and 6s instead of just 6s. They also have set to defend, which is pretty much you're getting ready to do melee attacks into a unit, like after it's charged you. It gives you +1 to hit. Pretty nice. Here they are, the boarding action stratagems, all 3 of them. And they are exactly like you would think. Command reroll, counteroffensive, insane bravery. Command reroll, you reroll a dice. You know it, you love it. Counteroffensive, that's the CP interrupt, 2 CP interrupt. You know it, you love it. Everybody uses it all the time. It's extremely valuable a lot of times. And insane bravery, auto pass morale. In this kind of game system, it can be really big. All right, boarding action enhancements. These are the warlord traits, if you will. Superior boarding tactics. Before the battle, you get 2 additional command points. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Close quarters killer. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack, you can reroll the wound roll. Gross. Defensive linchpin. This is the aura of every time your unit fires Overwatch, the unit can hold steady for free. That's cool. And there's an expert breacher. They get to open the hatchway. They can do the open hatchway movement. Sorry, do the open hatchway action and still do a normal move afterwards. But they cannot do the open hatchway action again. They can only do it one time during the during that turn. And there's a personal teleporter, which gives the bearer, if you put the bearer in strategic reserves, they can teleport onto the battlefield more than 9 inches away from enemy models. or wholly within your entry zones. Entry zones are little squares. Like if you've seen the board that these are going to be on, they're divided up into little squares. And then each square is an entry zone. You'll usually have like 4 or 5 little squares that you can, deployment zones, if you will, to put your troops and stuff into. Trademark weapon. It's a pretty good one. It makes it so you essentially have a relic weapon. For all intents and purposes, it is a relic weapon, as far as it says right here on the last sentence of the thing. But it increases the strength and the damage characteristics of that weapon by 1. Pretty nice. All right, now to muster boarding patrol. Okay, start off by doing your army roster. Now you'll notice none of these are compulsory because you do not have to have an HQ. You don't have to have troops. You don't have to have elites. These are the requirements. It has to be, either troops, HQ, or elites. Other than in the, Warhammer community sent out not really an FAQ, but a guide with special rules for everybody. So like Tau, they can take fast attack of tactical drones or pathfinders. That's cool. It also says because generally you can't take units with fly, but they'll allow you to take like a couple of battle suit units and stuff like that, as long as they promise not to fly. Okay. It just essentially if they have a fly keyword, and they're allowed in, then it just brings their movement down to 6 inches. Cool. They're just walking around. All right, next you select a faction. Of course, like general, it says, you can't be Imperium, Chaos, Eldari, or Tyranids. This is to make it so that you can't be like, oh, well, I have a Blood Angels captain, and I have a Imperial Fist heavy intercessor squad, and I have a Dark Angels Terminator squad. This is pretty much just to make it so you can't stupid hard. You still have to follow the basic rules, just like with Arks of Omen or anything else, or Nephilim, or anything else. You can't mix everything together. Okay. And then you select your sub-faction rules. Which, like I said, it's pretty much like, I'm just going to be Blood Angels, or I'm just going to be Dark Angels. I'm going to be Eldari. I'm going to be, oh, well, you can't pick Eldari. Uthway. Or Yanari. I'm going to pick Death Guard instead of Chaos, or World Eaters. Gene Stealer Cult, or Kraken, Leviathan. You gotta choose your sub-faction stuff. It's pretty much what it's saying. And these games are so small. They're only 500 points. You really don't want to be souping too much anyways. That's just kind of silly, to be honest. Next, you select your units. Unit selection, is very similar to any other time you select units. But this time with the boarding action rules, so you can't take monsters, vehicles, jump pack, cavalry, biker, or flyers. You can only have up to 1 character model. You cannot do elite characters. Elites, you can only have 1 data sheet of elites. So like say you wanted to do all Terminators, well, you can only have 1 unit of Terminators. Or you want to do all Beast and Nurgle, you only have 1 unit of Beast and Nurgle. Thank goodness for that. That would be gross. Here we go, going into squad minimums and stuff like that. They want to make it so that if your squad minimum is less than 5, you can still include it into the boarding patrol. If the minimum squad is 5, you can include it as long as it's minimum size of 5. But if you want to increase it, it has to be increased to 10. It can't be like 7 guys or 8 guys in a unit. No, it has to be 10. Can't start a unit with more than 10 either. And you cannot have understrength units in the boarding patrol. You can select options and deduct points if your unit has access to upgrades or options. Put them down in the war gear, blah, blah, blah. Select your psychic powers just like normal. Select other rules just like normal. But I thought it was pretty interesting that they're making it so you can't, see it like right up here. Like if unit's minimum size is 5, you can include that unit as a minimum sized unit. Or if it can include additional models, then you can do so as long as the starting strength of that unit is 10. I think it's pretty interesting that they're making it so that you have to be, 5 or 10. But like later on, like whenever you go to actually start the battle and stuff, you'll see why. Where am I? Here I am. All right. Next, you select your warlord and enhancement. Enhancements I went over earlier. Warlord could either be your character that you chose as your HQ, or if you don't have a character, then it could be like one of your sergeant models or champion models from one of your units. Determine your points total. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff. Muster the boarding patrol. Okay. First, you must Okay, yep, your boarding patrol. If you're less than 30 points, if you're 30 points less than your opponent's points total, then you are considered the underdog, and you'll get an underdog bonus in the missions, which are detailed in the missions themselves. Then you got to determine the mission. It's as simple as rolling 2d3 like we usually do with all the other missions. Sorry, all this talking is making me so thirsty. Been talking for 2 hours now. Almost done, I promise. Yeesh. Alright, here's a list of the missions and stuff. You, as always, read the mission briefing. Alright, create the battlefield and place objective markers. The battlefield terrain stuff is they have pictures of A1, B2, A2, blah 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 blah, and they'll show you exactly where to put everything with the way the hatches are open and all that good stuff. Then you form your boarding squads. Now, if your unit is a starting strength of 10, then it actually ends up getting split into 2 units of 5 that act independently. I think that's awesome, especially being a Tau player where all my units start at 10 anyways, and I can't bring them up or down. That just gives me a crap ton of stuff to just swarm the board with. So that makes me excited. Same for being a demons player too. Then you determine attacker and defender. Same as before, roll off. Excuse me. Winner gets to choose attacker or defender. Then you generate starting command points. Like I said earlier, everybody starts with 1. Start with 1. Deploy your armies. Alternate deployment, starting with defender, just like normal. Now these you deploy into your entry zones, like I was saying earlier, which are these little squares that are on the map. And each mission will show you exactly which squares they are. Determine your reserves. You pay 0 CP for strategic reserves. So have fun with that. Strategic reserves are, I think, a little bit different in this. You can come in around, in your, not really deployment zone, but the entry zones. And stuff like that, as long as there's no other models within it, blah blah blah. There's some blah blah blahs in there. There we go. Entry zones. In boarding actions, each player will have 1 or more deployment zones called entry zones. Each time a unit from your boarding patrol is set up, it must be set up wholly within one of your entry zones. If a unit will not fit wholly within an entry zone, all of its models must be set up close to the center of the entry zone as possible. You cannot set up a unit within an entry zone if any other unit in the entry zone. However, when setting up a unit at the start of the battle, you can set up your warlord alongside that unit as if it was a part of it. Using the same entry zone rules that prevent a unit from being set up within a specific distance of another model or unit cannot prevent a unit from being set up within an entry zone. Pretty much, if you have 4 or 5 entry zones, and you can have 4 or 5 deployments, like drops, essentially. That's what that means. Except for like your HQ can go down with any of them. It's fine. But other than that, it's mostly, one. You can't just put everything on one, essentially. Like, everybody has to be kind of spread out. Which, once you see the boards and stuff, like, you'll kind of understand, like, that's the better option anyways. Determine first turn, just like always. Roll off, winner takes first turn. Resolve pre-battle abilities. Begin the battle, and end the battle. Super simple, just like all the other stuffs. Determine the victor, follow the mission objectives, blah, blah, blah. Alright then, here's a mission. The underdog bonus for this one is that you can deploy, start with an additional command point. Some of them will give you like an additional place so you can deploy at. In this mission, you get 5 victory points for controlling 1 or more objective, 5 for controlling 2 or more, 5 more for controlling more than your opponent. And also in this, you're trying to purge the ship. So you're trying to kill your enemy. And you get more victory points based on however many you kill. Like, points wise. And then here's an example of the map itself. It's a little hard to tell, but in the gray is letters and numbers, which tell you which pieces are used to set up the battlefield. The little skulls are, of course, the not deployment zones, objective markers. And then the greenish gray and then the reds are your entry points. As you can tell, it's kind of all set up on a grid. So, like your entry zones and stuff will be pretty easy to figure out and stuff like that. All right, well, that's pretty much it, everybody. Hope I answered all your questions to the best I could. Hope you kind of have a good idea of how to play the boarding actions game, and I hope that really makes you interested in playing them. I know I am. I'm like so super interested in playing some more boarding action games. I actually bought another set so I can try to do like a 2,000 point boarding action game, or 1,000 point on a 2,000 point board set. I don't know. It's gonna be huge. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed the stream today. It was really great hanging out with you guys, just talking over the new Arks of Omen stuff. I'm super excited about all this new stuff, the new detachments, everything. I think I'm going to even include the Arks of Omen detachment into like Tempest of War and stuff like that whenever I play that again. Because it's an awesome detachment, and it really makes it so you can make some really good fluffy armies. Which is, in my opinion, is how 40k should be. You should be able to make your super cool fluffy army all the time. But anyways, again, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you guys have a great evening, and stay safe out there. Bye. Yep.